The Utah Jazz had an incredible draft. I love the Taylor Hendricks pick at 9th overall. He fits modern basketball perfectly as a stretch forward that can block shots and be versatile on both ends of the floor. I thought Keyonte George at 16th overall was really good value. He's a physical combo guard that can create shots and has shown real promise as a passer and defender. But the player I couldn't believe they somehow got was Brice Sensabaugh at pick 28. Sensabaugh was someone I thought was a legit lottery talent, and while I knew he would probably fall out of the lottery because this draft has more lottery talent than actual lottery draft slots, I didn't expect him to fall nearly out of the first round. I think this was a great pick for the Utah Jazz, and a pick that I think could be a steal in a few years. Bryce Sensabaugh is a 6'6", 235-pound wing forward with a 7'2" wingspan. He played his freshman season at Ohio State. He wasn't really on the radar as a draft guy going into the year, but after a stellar freshman campaign, he rose up draft boards. And it's not to say that this was the worst thing that ever happened to him in terms of where he went in the draft, because going in the first round is still an incredible feat in its own right, but based off his tape and numbers, he probably should have gone higher. Sensabaugh does have a profile that teams tend to be hesitant on in the first round. He's a scorer-first wing that focuses mostly on self-creation. Not the greatest playmaker in the world, also not the best athlete in the world, which definitely stood out compared to his draft peers because this draft class has a bunch of athletes in it that have built-in ODM gear. He also wasn't the best defender either. We have seen guys like this fall in the draft in the past because despite what they bring to the table as a scorer, they don't really bring much else. Cam Thomas being the most recent example of it. However, Sensabaugh is different from guys like Cam Thomas and Alonzo Trier in the past. And that starts with his frame and efficiency. Sensabaugh was really efficient as a freshman in college. He averaged 16.3 points per game in 24.5 minutes per game. He averaged 13.7 points per game and 19.9 minutes per game off the bench in 12 games. He averaged 17.8 points per game and 27.1 minutes per game as a starter in 21 games. One of the most productive per minute scoring freshmen we have ever seen. But it goes beyond that. On the season, his shooting splits were at 48, 40.5, 83 with a 58.7 true shooting percentage. That's 40.5% from 3 on 4.5 attempts per game, mind you. So it's not a case of low volume, high efficiency. This is pretty good volume on pretty good efficiency. But his numbers as a starter were even better. 17.8 points per game on 49.8, 40.8, 81.1 splits with a 59.3 true shooting percentage. So he proved that he was super efficient, which means he doesn't have that concern entering the league that most with his archetype do. And he did this while taking and making tough shots, showing footwork and creation ability to get to his spots, shooting 52.6% on 2.9 off-dribble twos per game, and also having really intriguing physical tools. He's not the best athlete in the world, but he's a big physical wing. Not the quickest guy in the world, but he's relatively quick for his size. More agile and shifty than you would think, and he uses those things to have a really good handle as well. A handle that has no business being as good as it is for somebody with this frame. And while I do think he is more quick and agile and shifty than you would expect, he isn't the most gifted in those areas in the grand scheme of things, even if he is impressive for his frame. But he does make up for the overall lack of quickness and shiftiness and agile ability in terms of facing off against like elite athletes. He makes up for that with great strength and body control. So he has all the tools you look for in a big wing creator, while also doing it really productively and really efficiently at a young age. On top of that, he doesn't need to be a full-time on-ball creator to be effective. He shot 44.4% on 3.5 catch and shoot threes per game, and while I wouldn't say he's a good passer, he did show improvement throughout the year. It's not like he's unwilling to pass the basketball, and I think he can grow into someone that can pass well within the flow of the offense. I think his ability as a catch and shoot player and ability to score off the ball and potentially growing as a passer are going to be really good complements to what he brings on the ball. And that really makes him a complete scoring prospect in my opinion. Also, the reason I believe he was an absolute steal at pick 28, because he has an established skill set, a skill set that's relatively polished for his age, is efficient with a playstyle that usually doesn't translate to great efficiency at a young age with that kind of usage, and on top of that, he's still young and has room to grow. So I thought he was worth a mid-first round pick, maybe even a lottery pick depending on the team, and to get it at pick 28 is just unreal value. I think Brice Sensabaugh will contribute early as a bench scoring piece for the Jazz, playing as the backup 3 and 4 behind Lauri Markkanen and John Collins. And what I love most is that he can play multiple roles in multiple lineups. He'll be able to be that on-ball scorer with second unit. He also can play off the ball with Lauri Markkanen when maybe they're in the same lineup together due to his ability to space the floor and have a catch and shoot ability. I think also that applies to bench units where he plays with guys like Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson. And I think he could have a really solid rookie season. Maybe flirt with double-digit scoring and somebody that is really productive on a per-minute basis, because I think he's probably a 15 to 20 minute per game guy because of the defensive concerns, but he will show the scoring ability while also being able to fit with the offense. I think it's going to be a more efficient and probably a slightly more productive version of what Cam Thomas was as a rookie, because Cam Thomas had the same defensive concerns, but I don't think Cam Thomas was as efficient of a prospect by any means, and I also don't think he was as willing to play off the ball as Brice Sensabaugh is. I do think that Brice will need to get better on defense to reach high-level starter outcomes, which I do think is the ceiling for him, which is a really productive high-end starter. But he does have the frame and physicality to bother other wings and forwards potentially, and he is pretty self-aware, has mentioned it in interviews that he does need to work on his defense, but that's something only time will tell, and we will need to see results on the court in order to believe it. But regardless, I think he will have a role in the NBA due to how complete his scoring skill set is and how he can play both on and off the ball and be really efficient. I think as a rookie, 10 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, around 47, 40, 83 splits isn't out of the question. I think his ceiling is a prime TJ Warren level player. Not a one-to-one comparison, even though I do see some similarities, because players are unique in their own ways and it's really not fair to put him in a box. But I think what TJ Warren was at his best in terms of level of player, I think Brice Sensabaugh could be that at his very best. And that's a really good player, because contrary to popular belief, TJ Warren was a good player prior to his bubble run. He averaged 17.2 points per game on 49.4 field goal percentage in the 3 seasons prior to 2020, and he averaged 18.7 points per game on 52.9, 37.5, 81.2 splits in 61 games prior to the bubble in the 2020 season. If you get that kind of player at pick 28, that's an absolute steal. And it's not a guarantee that Brice Sensabaugh becomes that, but he has a skill set and production as a prospect that make me optimistic that he could become that. I think he showed more than enough to have gone in the lottery. He was productive and efficient at a young age while showcasing an advanced skill set, and I think he's going to contribute early on. Have a rookie season that is better than what you would expect from a 28th overall pick. And he has a chance to make people look back in a few years and wonder how he fell all the way to the end of the first round. But that's the end of this video. If you made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, haven't already, like, subscribe, hit notification bell, notify whenever I release a video. Liking and subscribing are the 2 best ways you can help me out in the YouTube algorithm. Helps people find my videos, so in turn, helps the channel grow so I can make more content for you guys in the future. Let me know what you think about Brice Sensabaugh in the comment section below. Let's try to get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. Thank you so much for the support on the channel recently. We're closing in on 3,000 subscribers. Can't thank you guys enough for really just raising the standard for what content is on this channel, and I can't wait to show you guys what I have in store in the future for this off season and next season. But with that being said, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.